Hello and welcome to Screen Views. I'm Dave.
I'm James.
And this is the weekly podcast where we give our views on a film and TV show.
Each episode is unscripted, unedited, so anything can happen. Listeners should be aware that we do include spoilers, so feel free to fast forward, rewind, or simply buckle up and enjoy a somewhat coherent conversation.
Our podcast is based on the idea that there's no such thing as a bad movie. Therefore, for every review, we'll give a recommendation instead of a rating.
But first up, we're going to have a quick discussion about what we talked about last week to see if our opinions have changed.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Here we are.
Yeah, we are back again with vengeance.
Film.
We are
Talking about some movie things.
Yeah. So this week, we should actually the first mission of the day should be talking about last week's movie.
Yeah.
Which was Mission Impossible.
Good tie-in.
Yeah,
liked it, James.
It's doing well. The Meg has come out, and in American has knocked Mission Impossible off the top of the American box office.
That's interesting.
So it's on 17 million, and last weekend opening like Saturday night opening. Sorry, this weekend, the weekend that just passed. Mission Impossible earned 17 million over the box office in America, but the Meg earned 48 million, I think. So,
really?
Yeah. And the Meg is just blown out the park, blown out the water straight away.
Nice.
Which is
nice pun.
Bit of a shame.
It is because I was reading an article the other day on the an app about how movies like The Meg have perhaps, not as much of a sort of critical hit that they could be. It was basically comparing The Meg to Jaws. I mean, it's the obvious thing to do here. So it's been quite a long. Is it 40 years or so since Jaws came out?
I'm not sure.
It's quite a long time, but Jaws was kind of the critical blockbuster hit, and it's just interesting how you don't get those types of movies anymore, where it's like. It's special effects it's kind of special effects are taking over content. I mean, I've not seen The Meg, but I'm guessing
I unfortunately have.
Have you? Okay. We're not going to review it on. No. Okay.
It doesn't deserve one of our reviews.
No, is that?
But the nicest thing is a bad movie, so someone out there should like it.
Well, lots of people obviously like it because it's doing better than Mission Impossible, which we liked. So what do we know, James?
It depends. Let's just see how second weekend goes, because that's often always it happens quite a lot in terms of these like awful movies, when people just go a big flurry of people just go see it the first weekend, and then they might drop off the map the second weekend.
Right. Okay.
It's like Justice League was huge the first weekend, but dropped quite largely the second weekend.
Right, interesting. Have you seen Mission Impossible again?
No, I did say I wanted to, but no, I've just basically seen everything else.
Right,
I've been
doing the rounds.
Yeah. So I've seen everything else. There's one animation which I can only see in central London, which I've not seen yet. I've seen everything else now, and so I think when I get a chance, I'll see Mission Impossible. There's no urgency to see it again because I know it'll be on for like another good couple of weeks as well. So I think that's probably why I haven't sort of think, I need to see it again now, because it's going to go off soon.
Yeah, I think for me, I sort of watched it. The summary was I quite enjoyed it as a spy action film. I don't think I'll be rushing to see it again.
I think I'll definitely see it again. Like I say, it surprised me. In my review, I said I didn't think much of it in terms of didn't think much of it in terms of the trailers. But I was pleasantly surprised by the movie. So I think I want to see it again and see listen to the music more, listen to the look at the editing more, and yeah.
I think I think it was just really good action film. I think I can see why people would pull it apart. I think if you tried to see it as something that it's not, you're gonna pick holes in it, left, right, and centre. But I think you could do that with any sort of movie of this kind of genre, maybe other than the Bourne films, maybe. But I think any sort of spy action film, if you try and pick the kind of plot points and the general bits and bobs here and there apart, you know, it's going to be flawed in many different ways. But you know, I thought the balance was there, and it made me want to see the other Mission Impossible films that I've not seen.
Oh,
so
cool. Okay,
I think that's that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so that was Mission Impossible. Now we're going to talk about a very small film called Ant-Man and the Wasp. Tiny.
But is this a small film in terms of budgets and expectations and profits?
I was going off the point of ants.
No, I know, I get that. Yeah, but I mean, that made me interested to know how this film sits in terms of the Marvel universe in terms of budgets.
I think they spent a lot of it on graphics, but when I actually look at the film and you actually look at the sets and the environments, you could tell they didn't go that far. A lot of it was very in studio because there was not that much stuff on location at all, and it's the same set which they reuse quite often. So in terms of their lab, you only see that one open set of the lab. In terms of the office space, it's only their office space, and it's mainly his house. Now there are 3 main locations they keep going around. There is a one car chase sequence, but apart from that, there's not actually that many locations. And so to me, that's a sign of a very budgeted sort of like strong film. I mean, if you think about Ant-Man 1, I felt like they went in more environments, in more places, and I felt they spent more money on locations, more money on So when they went into a building, you went to lots of rooms in this building. It felt like it was a huge building. I mean, if you look at the in terms of like the big building which the lab is in, you go into a lift and you go into one open room. That's the only.
Yeah,
it's that's to me the sign of a very cheap sort of like budget. It's just a very cheap way of filming.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should sort of say that. It is quite contained as a film. Yeah.
But I just felt like with the first one, when he was training inside Hank Pym's house, you'd look into the garden, you're in the bedrooms upstairs, you're in the living room downstairs. You just felt like even in that little house, you just felt like you were immersed in this sort of environment. And like, but with this film, I just didn't feel like you really explored it that much, and the environment that much, different environments.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure about money wise and how much, but it's really hard to look at budget with this film because, like, say, you got so much effects on it. It's really hard to look at this sort of film with an eye of a budget. Like, I wonder how much that is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so for me, I didn't actually see the first one before seeing this one.
Oh yeah.
You know, I thought the special effects are great.
Yeah.
Like, they're really well done. So yeah, I mean, it sort of worked from that point of view. You know, for this kind of film, you perhaps, you know, they're spending money in the right places because the special bits come from the going from large to small to large, and you know, and those sorts of different set sequences are, you know, they put a different spin on a car chase because you know, suddenly you know, you go from big to small, and it it creates an interesting sort of dynamic that you don't perhaps see with the other kind of Marvel outlets.
Yeah, I forgot you did see the first one. So do you have any issues with
I guess there's some stuff that wasn't quite explained in this story. So I mean, what was interesting is that the premise of this story is basically to save the wife and mother of the girl who plays the Wasp.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So at the end of the Evangeline Lilly, who plays a character called Hope.
Yes.
So she her mother's
in the quantum
realm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that stuff's explained in the first film.
Yeah, because Ant-Man goes to the quantum realm and comes back. Does that happen in the first film? Yeah. So that's sort of explained in this film, which I think is a key piece of information that you kind of need to know for this film.
One of the highlights of the first one was the Lucas character, and when he's telling a story, he does a big monologue in the first one, and that's quite a highlight in the first one. For someone who's not seen the first film, when he does his monologue and telling a story and you see flashbacks, that must have been really interesting, you seeing the first film from that perspective. Do you know his friend who is sort of like, he's been given the serum and he's sort of like telling the story of how...
the truth serum, yeah. That was, I did enjoy that little sequence actually. That was quite good.
But for me, it's sort of like, that was quite funny because I know what happened and I know how they were together. But obviously, you're seeing it from his point of view, and that must have been quite interesting, seeing sort of like a catch-up sort of section. Yeah, within the second half of the film. Yeah, of the first film. So that must have been quite cool.
Yeah, it was quite well done, I think.
Yeah. I felt like the joke of the truth serum was beaten a bit too much. It's funny, it's nice, I can see it on paper being funny, but it kept saying it. It just kept going a bit too far. I felt like a lot of times with the sort of like that crew, sort of like, his little team, Lewis's little team. I felt like all the jokes were funny, but he just kept saying it a bit too much. It's like, we get them. Just move on.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of repetition. I think the bit that joke got annoying for me was like right at the end when they were still like banging on about it.
Yeah.
Not them in particular, but then
some other people. Yeah.
So it's kind of like there was quite a lot of expositional like aspects with that joke in particular. When the bad guys have been given the truth serum, and it's kind of obvious because we have a close up of the used needles, but then one of the characters has to then tell us about truth serum again. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not a huge fan of jokes becoming funny just because you repeat the same phrase over and over again. That for me is not humour.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line, and they maybe stepped over the line there. Yeah.
So when you first saw the Wasp in this film, it's the first time you've seen her with the costume on. She didn't actually have any action sequences within the first film. Yeah. So this is like this was the
that's why you get the line in the trailer that he's given her wings.
Oh. Yeah, blasters and
but she doesn't have a sting, does she? So
she's a sting.
but that's it. The one thing that I did come out of this movie thinking was, why was she called a wasp and not a flying ant? Ant-Man and ant lady. Why, James?
I'm not sure, but it's
called the Wasp. She's not even like got a yellow and black suit.
No,
like
although Ant-Man has had different colour suits in the past, and so but I think I'm not sure. In the comics, she was actually quite big because she ran the Avengers for a while in the comic books.
Oh really?
Yeah, and comic book wise as well, Hank Pym. he's the one who created Ultron. So in the films, Iron Man creates Ultron, but in the comic books, Hank Pym creates Ultron.
Okay. Good inside knowledge.
Yeah, so the characters are sort of like intertwined.
Yeah, so I think one thing that isn't explained for viewers in this film is the use of the ants and how there's some big ones, some normal-sized ants, and how Hank is controlling them or not controlling them.
So the first film does that quite well.
Okay.
And they do actually put some time aside, and
so there's
and you also said there's quite a lot of facts about different ants in the first one, and quite an interesting sort of like these sort of ants are like this, and these sort of ants are like this.
Okay, I assume that would be the case, and in that regard, it sort of makes me want to go and see the first one, I guess.
And the joke about the giant ant is, do you know the giant ant that's in Scott's apartment, taking over for Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of like that. That's sort of a lead on to from a joke in the first film.
Right. Okay.
So, I'm trying not to spoil the first film. Sorry.
Yeah. You know. So.
What do you think of the daughter character? I thought the daughter character was amazing. The Scott's daughter.
Paul Rudd's daughter.
Yeah. I thought I thought there were the vibe between both of them. They got a real cool sort of father-daughter vibe, and I really like the way I can. Do you know when they sometimes have like, oh, this is my daughter? You can't really see how they're related, but I don't know. I guess I can see some of the characteristics of Paul Rudd's character in his daughter's character.
Yeah, they did do that quite well, actually. Yeah. And I like the family dynamic. I like the fact that they were divorced, but everybody's okay with each other.
Yeah. I think that's quite an interesting sort of progression from the first one. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, so that you'll learn more about that in the first one when you go back and see the first one. And actually, you know what? Actually, you're right in terms of representation on screen. In terms of like, oh, that's like my dad. I like go to my dad's at the weekend, and that's what.
Yeah, it was just really like a positive representation of divorce that you don't.
Yeah,
you often don't get on screen. Yeah. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah. I didn't feel a connection or a vibe between Paul Rudd's character and so basically Ant-Man and the Wasp in this film. I didn't really feel like the connection between them. I felt like they did it. They successfully did it more in the first one when I sort of understood they sort of have a little bit of chemistry. But in this film, I just felt like she just hated his guts. I didn't really feel like there was. I didn't feel like they worked as a team in terms of fighting. So as an Ant-Man and the Wasp persona, but I didn't feel like they sort of gelled together when they didn't have costumes on either.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a bit of a.
How did you feel about Ant-Man's suit malfunctioning the whole way through the film?
It's. I felt like it wasn't really about Ant-Man. It was about the Wasp. And I felt like because her suit didn't malfunction whatsoever, and it got a little bit annoying because it just meant that he wasn't really the front and center, and he wasn't really in control. There's never a point where he was sort of controlling the situation. The situation was just controlling him, and it got a little bit annoying. It's kind of interesting the way he becomes a damsel in distress, and she has to jump in the water to save him, when normally it's a trope which is spun all the way around.
Yeah,
one falls into the water and a man jumps in to save her.
The whole premise of this film is a damsel in distress in the quantum realm that they need to go and rescue.
Yeah. Although the spin on that is that she's sort of like the rescue's been done by both sides as well.
I guess so.
Hadn't.
Actually, if she doesn't take control.
Yeah.
At one point, there is that implied. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Although one thing that really annoyed me is the fact that when in the quantum realm, nothing should exist, not even time. The element of time doesn't exist. So, I wouldn't mind it if she mentally growed, but the fact that she physically has grown, I wanted her to come out, so the mother character to come out as a young woman.
Yeah, I thought that's what was
Yeah.
going to happen actually, but she's
Yeah, but as soon as I heard they could cast Michelle Pfeiffer, I was thinking, okay, all right, yeah. But yeah, I know it would have been weird seeing Michael Douglas with with like a 20. Well, we've seen it with like a much younger woman, but
yeah.
it still would have been. I don't know. I don't know. You've laid down the science. You've said that no time exists in this place. So how can you grow old? How can time have an effect on you if there's no time exists in this place? So.
Well, maybe they'll explain that. Maybe.
Well, I think let's move on from there.
Okay. Well, the only reason I was going to say that is because of the post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
She says to him, "Don't go to the time zone or something."
Okay.
Because
cool.
you'll get lost.
Okay.
Forever.
Cool. Yeah.
So I think, but just because I've mentioned it, maybe one of the most interesting sort of talking points for me is the post-credit sequence, and how that sort of not the one with the ant, because that was lame and not worth. So I do like how Marvel sort of set this the post-credit sequence thing, and they do get you to sit through the credits, and I think is a really good way to get people to actually pay attention to all the amazing people that have worked on all of these films that we talk about.
Yeah.
That often don't get acknowledged because people just walk out of the cinema. So I do think that was good. Wasn't so happy that I sat through the credits to just see an ant playing the drums or whatever. What was it? Was it playing the drums?
Yeah. James Gunn's no longer working for Marvel anymore. But what James Gunn did in the first one, he had like Howard the Duck, that was the first sort of like pointless end credit sequence, and it really just like sticking your middle finger up saying, this is what I made you sit through. But the second film, the credits were animated, and you had like the stars dancing on either side, and the credits were a joy to watch. So you weren't waiting. It wasn't just about waiting for the end.
What film are you talking about now?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, right, okay.
So the second James Gunn film, and so if they adopted more of that, you wouldn't feel as disappointed with sort of like that lackluster sort of ending.
Maybe
with the ends.
But the first post-credit sequence was definitely.
Could you ask me where it comes in the at what part of the timeline does it come into the Marvel timeline?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to say anything because they want to.
Yeah. So I can see why they sort of jumped it on 2 years to keep it in line with the Avengers.
Yeah.
You know what happened in Civil War and what and what's happened since. And they do a good job in this film of explaining why Ant-Man isn't involved in the Avengers. Yeah. I think. Well, I mean, you assume the house arrest premise is why he's not involved, and the suit, the idea that he's destroyed the suit.
Yeah, which I don't understand how, because last time we saw him, he was being arrested in Civil War.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he destroyed the suit. I was doing quotation marks on a podcast doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's sort of explained in this film. Yeah. But anyway, post-credit sequence. So he is going to get some... What do they call it? It's like health serum.
Energy to
help the
energy
bad guy to help Ghost.
Help to get the bad girl in this.
And he gets stuck.
Yeah.
In the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I haven't mentioned spoilers, but we're well in spoiler category here.
Yeah.
So he's stuck in the quantum realm because the cleansing of Thanos happens right at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a comment about don't go to the time zone.
Yeah.
You might need to watch it again for that, James, if that's not there. Because I might have made it up.
Yeah,
it might be fake news. But
I'll definitely watch it again.
I'm like 90% sure I heard something about a time don't go to the time realm or the time zone or something like that.
What did you think of?
I think. Sorry, I was just sort of thinking that in terms of the, restoring the damage that's done in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Time, quantum realm.
Yeah, I think there will be an aspect of time within. I know a spoiler for the next Avengers film.
Oh, really?
I didn't mean to come across as a spoiler, but it was just a picture, and now they keep posting the picture everywhere. So I don't understand why the world hasn't. But I think before I saw this thing, I thought time might be an aspect of it anyway.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, it's an obvious way to reverse events.
One of the stones is a time stone as well.
Yeah.
So
but interesting position for Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Do you think Ant-Man will be involved in the next Avengers? Do we know this?
I know if he is or not.
Oh, okay. But you don't want to.
I have that information.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to know. My guess is that he will be involved in some way because he's in the quantum realm, and I feel like the quantum realm is important now after seeing this film.
You could say he might be involved. That is a possibility.
But then again, he might not be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows? Tune in next year to find out.
But there's not that many people left, and so if there's a superhero helping like that could help, then I think it might be.
Yeah, but Ant-Man's
logical to think that he could help.
Yeah, but then like half of them are still going, aren't they?
Gone.
Yeah, but there
was
half are still around. So
yeah.
Big Avengers spoilers.
Yeah. What do you think of the bad guy or bad girl? I don't know what I keep saying bad guy. The villain of the show. Actually no. Before we go into how we feel about her, I thought it was interesting. I can't think of any other time where you've seen mixed race parents with a mixed race child on screen. It's so rare to see a mixed race with a light skinned character. They've probably got two light skinned parents. So I thought it was really interesting seeing the flashback. So the villain, you see a flashback and you see her parents, and you got like a fully white dad and a black mum. I thought that was kind of interesting, cool, because I'm represented. I've got a white mum and a black dad, but I've never I can't. It rarely comes up where I've seen mixed race parents, and it's not done as a statement either. It's really quick. You blink and you miss it. And like, I know it's silly. I know it's so common nowadays in the real world, but there's the media, and I just don't really see it that much. I thought that was kind of interesting, having mixed race children, because she's like tonally she is quite ambiguous in terms of the actress, and I think she could quite easily be a whiter family or someone with a sort of like an olivey sort of skin, and I don't know, tonally she is quite like tonally ambiguous, a bit like The Rock is a bit like tonally ambiguous, because it's really hard to define in terms of like exactly who he is in terms of ethnicity, and so I kind of I don't know, I thought it was interesting having a representation of mixed race within the Marvel universe, within film. I've seen film in a while. Could you think of the last mixed race? Not
off the top of my head, no. It's funny that you sort of said it. So I feel like it is perhaps TV shows you see it a bit more than film, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched a film called The Darkest Minds, and it had somebody who looks mixed race, but then their parents are both fully black. Like, okay, well, all right, okay. I don't understand how that works, but okay. Basically, I think a lot of audiences are just ignorant sometimes. I'm just thinking, okay, looks black, looks kind of black. We can get around this. And I just thought it was just refreshing. The way one pointed out, it weren't like just blink and you miss it. Sorry, I'll keep banging on about this, but I hardly ever see it, so I wanted to point that out. But in terms of like her not being villainous for villainous reasons, like with Marvel movies. I mean, you said it last week. I think you're talking about it's going to be the end of the world. There's going to be high stakes.
Yeah.
When actually it's just about saving one person's life.
Yeah, I did like that about this. And I was going to talk about that because this film isn't about the end of the world, and the stakes in that sense, I guess, are relatively low for this one.
Relative. I think you making a joke on relativity, but no, don't go for.
No, I mean,
there's
probably a joke in there somewhere, but I say relatively low because it depends what's important to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if losing your mother is the end of your world, then those are pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
But in regards to one person being lost and dying to a whole world being destroyed or half the universe being destroyed, the stakes are.
Yeah.
If you look at it from that point of view, are relatively low. So that's kind of why I guess I'm using that phrase. But you're probably right. There is a bit of probably a quantum pun in there somewhere. Yeah. I did like the throwaway line about how do you guys just put quantum in front of everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, sorry, this is just sidetracking slightly, but I am a huge fan of Paul Rudd, and I do think I would have struggled with this film if it hadn't have been him as the kind of main character.
Yeah.
Because I know I think he got a writer credit for this film. And it did feel like it almost felt like a bit of a Paul Rudd film. In the Marvel universe, and I'm guessing the first one is a little bit like that as well. But
first one's a bit messy.
Well,
it was
I mean,
right.
I think that's the thing that put me off seeing the first one is that like I'm such a massive fan of Edgar Wright, and I know he sort of walked away, and it was the whole initial excitement. Way before the film came out was like, oh my god, Edgar Wright's going to do a Marvel film. This is, it will be amazing.
Yeah.
And then he sort of walked away, and then for me, I'm like, I think I mentally walked away from the first film as well, which I think was probably in the back of my mind when I started trying to watch it the first time. But I do think Paul Rudd sort of carries it through, and I think what the small section that I saw in Civil War, which I really enjoyed, I think is probably because like of Ant-Man in lots of ways, in that that kind of main fight in Civil War, and so I think like I think without him in this I would struggle a lot more with this film, but I think the elements of him plus the special effects make plus the sort of refreshing small stakes film makes it a sideline in a kind of Marvel universe that I quite enjoyed.
Do you know how old he'll be next year?
No.
He'll be 50 next year.
Well, he's looking pretty good.
Look, it's amazing. I'm just looking at IMDb now. Yeah, 1969.
Yeah, so...
He'll be 50 next year.
Okay, well, happy 50th, Paul. But, well, I suppose this is the Hollywood... This is what Bo got... well, I don't know if Paul Rudd has had work done, but...
Paul Rudd's always looked exactly the same age. It's weird.
Yeah, he is one of those people, actually. But is that just the Hollywood glamour, or is that something?
I don't know.
Else,
I see him in interviews as well. I see
B ending in X.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm gonna look like a right fool if I can't spell Botox.
Like a clip of Jeremy Kyle when someone tried to spell father and he spelled it wrong. It's like, no, don't do this.
That'll probably be me one day, James. One day.
So what were we talking about just now?
Paul Rudd, his age.
Oh, and his sort of film. I felt like the first one. So when you watch the first one, I feel like this one doesn't feel like as much of an Ant-Man film. I know it's called Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Ant-Man, Paul Rudd doesn't really do that much in this story to propel the story. And in the first one, you sort of got the background where he's a brilliant thief. He's quite a genius as well. He's quite smart, and he sort of helps advance the suit as well. So when he gets the suit, he sort of plays around and takes around with it because he started to understand it. Started to understand the technology a lot more.
All right, okay, and that's interesting.
I felt like with this one, he doesn't really know anything. He's a bit dumb.
Yeah,
and he's just bumbling along, and I felt like he accidentally makes the story go further. It doesn't actually. There's nothing that he decides to do which advances the story, and so he becomes a damsel in distress, and he just becomes.
Well, that's quite interesting because I'm seen the first one, and definitely in this film, you would think that he wouldn't have any clue about the technology.
No, not at all.
And he's just using it.
Yeah,
he's just a user in that sense.
Yeah, but but in terms of like making the suit go giant, he's the one who messed around with it to do that.
Oh right.
So like I say, there's a hint of him figuring it out in the first one, and then you see it in Civil War, and so I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
How he makes him look like an idiot. I didn't really mind Lawrence Fishburne's character, but I don't think it was really needed. I don't think he added anything. It was a bit of a shame because he got a really great actor, and I just thought it was a pathetic sort of storyline. I didn't really.
Yeah, it sort of seems like, to bring him into the Marvel universe is like great.
Yeah.
And I suppose I was quite glad that they could have easily turned him into the bad guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that, and I was kind of glad for that.
Yeah.
And like you say, in the end, what is again refreshing about this film is that there isn't actually, other than the lame gangster, there isn't.
Yeah.
There isn't an out sort of bad guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it when films do that.
Yeah. One of my favourite films is called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance from the same director as Oldboy, and it's basically there's three people going after each other. It's like it's all in a circle. You see all of them, none of them are bad, but they're all going after each other. And you're like, no, just stop and talk. Just stop and talk. Don't just stop and talk because none of you are bad. And this reminded me of that quite a lot.
Yeah.
I thought the action sequences were pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the special effects are amazing, and that for me is enough to, a bit like the sort of Mission Impossible action sequence, everything that special effects wise was really seamless. There wasn't any, even the bits when they're on, I don't know whether it's a size thing. But, I've got a thing about dodgy CGI on animals. If somebody's riding an animal or an alien, there's normally some dodgy CGI in there somewhere. But this was just sort of seamless throughout. I didn't spot any dodgy CGI. So they did a really good thing. And I like the whole kind of... it reminded me of, was it Micro Machines? Do you remember those?
Little cars.
Yeah. So when you're playing around with those with a kid.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like watching
I used to put my eye to
like-
the wall while moving, so basically, so it looked like out the camera come person in like an action sequence. Probably looked like a bloody idiot, like with someone watching me play cars. I literally dragging my head across a wall while using the car, and
Just is that to get like POV?
yeah, just get a
shot?
different perspective, like of like this car chase, and yeah,
Yeah, but that's what this film does, doesn't it? It gives you that
yeah,
different perspective, and it gives you different opportunities to do different things within.
Actually, the credits,
quality.
so they didn't do for all the credits, but the credits of like the action figures, I thought it was quite interesting. Gave me a reason to really enjoy watching the people's names or watching the character credits. Do you know,
Oh,
at the
I think I
end,
missed that.
where they,
Yeah, I
so they
wasn't concentrating.
okay,
Sorry.
they basically had miniatures of the characters. And the
Oh
different
yes, no, I
locations.
do remember. Yeah, that
I
was
thought
that was cool. Yeah,
that was really
actually.
cool.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
do remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also a brilliant way of selling toys. So like, oh, that looks really good. Well, we can get something like that for home. Like, oh, really? Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. No, all in all, I thought it was all right. It's not amazing. It's quite small stakes. I was just happy with it. It was all right. It was okay. They have recasted the daughter for a later on, for the next movie. I don't know if it's an Avengers later on or it's an Admin later on, or if they casted an older woman to play the daughter of Paul Rudd later on, and the daughter does play a superhero character within the movies. She gets her own suit. Oh no, she
Right.
does in the comics. So whether they're preparing for that
For
next
that.
generation.
yeah,
Because
maybe.
like you say, Paul Rudd is getting into his 50s now, and you look at the first generation of Avengers. I think they're looking at like 10 to 20 years ahead. So I think they might be thinking, well, who's gonna take up the realms after Paul Rudd and Nvidia, which I thought was kind of interesting because they got it's been going for 10 years now. This the Marvel universe. And it's quite clearly it's going to go on for another 10 years. And so, yeah, or even more.
Yeah,
So it's sort of like, I think they do need a future-proof, but I just think it's a bit of a shame. That,
yeah. Are we really going to have 10 more years of... Do you think just comic book films are just going to be here forever now?
With
Like-
Marvel, I think we're going to have at least 5 more years, because I think they've already got it scheduled. I think they're already filmed. I think they're already...
Yeah,
so they've already cast people. They're already... Yeah, so it's all about... Is the next 5 years going to be successful? And if the next 5 years are going to be successful, then you can pretty much guarantee another 5 years.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Just as long as there's not another crash.
Yeah.
Hopefully Brexit won't ruin
Yeah.
superhero films.
How would Brexit ruin
Just because it's ruining everything.
it? Yeah.
Like,
Well, it might actually be good for if I don't know how Brexit can use it, but we've got like an amazing studios here,
yeah.
and so yeah, I think this might there's some stuff you can only film in England, so maybe when Brexit goes through, we may be relying on movie companies more than we have been doing, because we can't rely on other exports as much.
Maybe I wasn't thinking about it as sort of deep as that.
Okay.
I was just sort of thinking about blaming Brexit for everything that's goes wrong in the world.
It's
So if just to predict, if the world movie business crashes,
yeah.
You can blame Brexit. You can just. This is the thing about Brexit: is you
world
can just
movie
blame
industry.
everything for Brexit.
I d-
That's the running joke.
don't
anyway,
think
James.
Brexit will affect the world movie industry, but British industry maybe. But
Maybe, but if it does, you heard it here first, James.
Yes, that's breaking news. Breaking news. Yeah, but I think all in all, it's a very small, tight movie. It doesn't really expand that much in terms of locations. It doesn't really expand in terms of cast that much. The characters which were developed in the first film aren't really developed that much more. So in terms of the character development, Paul Rudd from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, I can only really think the only difference is that he's no longer on house arrest. in terms of his characteristics and him as a person, I don't think he changed that much. In terms of because I know he kept saying he feels sorry and he's sorry for what happened, but I don't think he's learned a lesson.
Mm.
So the lesson is he should work more in a team, maybe. But basically, the idea of it was like Captain America rang him up straight away. Captain America said, "I need you." He went there straight away. It was like more of a knee-jerk reaction, and then within a couple of hours, he was arrested. And it's sort of like, yeah, is he less impulsive now? Is he more considerate? And I don't think the Paul Rudd sort of during the character development was really shown on screen. In terms of Angelina Lilly, I didn't feel like, yeah, she got a mum, but in terms of her character development, I don't think her character's different from the start of the film to the end of the film. Maybe her mother's influence will change who she is in the next film, but we don't have to get to see how different she is in this film. In fact, any of the characters, I can't really think of how they've changed from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. So I think that's one very disappointing thing about the movie. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. Don't get me wrong, but like I say, I can see its faults, and that definitely is one of its faults.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean, yeah, I think, like you say, it's like if you go into this movie thinking you're going to see big, expansive Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy type Marvel film, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed, because it is quite like you say, a small sort of self-contained version of a Marvel comic book film.
It's very light.
Yeah. But if you don't mind that, and if you just want a superhero film, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It's I would say it's
It didn't annoy me in a way that I thought it might.
No.
And that for me was good. No. I don't think you need to have seen the first one to enjoy this film, and I can say that for sure.
Yeah. Comedy wise, I felt like this film does it better than Thor Ragnarok. I know everybody banged on about Thor Ragnarok and how it's amazing. That film annoyed me a little bit in terms of how it handled its comedy.
Yeah, I think the problem with Thor for me was that it got built up. Everybody was like the hype
banging,
sort of like destroyed it a bit for me. But I thought there was some really funny moments. I sort of chuckled at various points in the film.
Yeah,
I think it was humorous. Humorous is probably a good way to describe it. But yeah, there was a few sections that were quite funny. Yeah, I thought that it was good. Very, very light. Don't really need to think about it too much. No, it's not the intensity that we saw with Avengers.
No, or Black Panther.
Yeah,
this is another very good in terms of character development Marvel movie. This one definitely on the lighter side. Yeah, popcorn, wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. You get your action, you get your special effects. You come out of it not be disappointed at all. Yeah, but not thinking that's the best movie you've ever seen in a while.
A good rainy day film. You know, it's like rainy. You're a bit like sad that there's no sunshine anymore. Yeah, you want something a bit light-hearted, not gonna get you down that the summer's taken a turn. Yeah. So I think it works in that sense. No, definitely. Yeah. So I think you wouldn't. It's difficult because we're on Limitless. It's difficult to know about full price. Yeah. Like, I do think there's better stuff out there, but I think it depends who you are. So I think this is a good one for older kids. So again, it's a 12A, I think, and it's probably a good film. I think if you've got younger kids, Incredible 2 is still going, and that's an obvious choice that I think is probably the strongest choice. But I think if you've got kids who are a bit older, The sort of 10, 11, 12 bracket. This is a good choice.
Yeah.
To go for. Obviously, if you're a fan of the Marvel universe, you're gonna see this film without a doubt anyway, I guess, and you're probably not gonna query paying full price for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's it's okay.
Yeah, I think I think this is definitely better than the Meg. There we go. I said it.
Well, you can say that because you've seen both, haven't you? I mean, I can't. I mean, I could take a guess and say that I'm not overly keen on seeing the Meg. So
so I think that's our review for this week.
Well, and I sort of think that brings us into what we're going to see next because
week,
it's obviously not going to be the Meg based on your review. What's next up, James? What are we looking at?
Disney's Christopher Robin.
Really?
Possibly.
Well, I thought... Hang on. Whoa.
The anger on David's face at the moment is incredible.
Well, it's mainly... I mean...
We could watch The Equalizer 2. We could watch The Festival.
Right.
We could watch The Meg.
I thought, what happened to the Stranger Things people? Are we not going to watch
Oh,
that?
we could do that, yeah. Sorry. We could do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Why are you skirting around that, James? Is that because you've already seen it?
I've seen it, yeah. I've definitely seen it. I've got a lot to say about it.
Is it worth a podcast episode? I don't think so, no. Oh, no! Okay. What's it called again?
The Darkest Minds.
And it is sort of superhero, isn't it? But like kind of not.
Sort of. It's
a bit like sort of young X-Men-y.
Young X-Men on the run, sort of like X-Men. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we should steer away from superhero.
Yeah, I mean,
should we do The Festival?
We can do The Festival. Yeah. It's looks like from the same producers as The Inbetweeners. It's got the main guy from The Inbetweeners on. And they should have some good British comedians popping up every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Inbetweeners 2 again randomly on TV. I think the other week. Yeah, it was just on, and I was up for some reason, really random. But it actually made me. I sort of seen it before, and I was quite offended by how bad it was the first time I saw it. But I watched it again, or most of it again, and I actually quite liked it. Okay. So
we should see it again.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see this. Yeah, so maybe we'll go for that.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the teenage X-Men on the run people not worth a watch.
Yeah, there's some ideas that okay, and I watched. Don't watch the trailer. Do not watch the trailer.
What?
Because there's a really cool bit in the trailer.
What's it called?
The Darkest Minds.
Yeah.
And there's a cool bit in the trailer.
I've seen the trailer. Yeah.
Which is in the last second of the movie.
Oh, really?
Okay. Why are you showing me that? Why have I seen this ending?
Again, trailer spoilers. Yeah, that was a bit of an issue with Mission Impossible for me.
But that's the mixed race girl who had two black parents. When I was on about I saw a film recently with a mixed race girl and she had two black parents.
Okay.
That's the film. Yeah.
All right.
No, I saw it last night. Oh no, I saw it the other day. A double bill of. No, just saw it last night.
Right.
I saw Unfriended as well, the horror film, and I saw The Meg, two back-to-back films. So. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll try something that both of us have not seen.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see whether it's very good or not.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll be all right.
Yeah.
And we've just done a podcast on what did we do?
Glow.
On Glow, and our next TV podcast will be Luke Cage. So listen out for that.
So keep tuning in.
Cool.
If you like our style or lack thereof.
Yeah. If you want to be one of the first people ever to hear one of our tweets or Facebook, subscribe because we will get on that soon.
Yeah, we keep telling everybody to get on that. Yeah, I think I keep saying Instagram, but you're not into
I think let's
Instagram.
Well, we can link them all up So we only really need to fill one.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so when you post one of them, it posts all of them.
Okay, we need to get on that, and then
Yeah.
we'll start posting.
Yeah.
And we'll post like pictures of us going into
go
into
to
the cinema
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, getting excited about
Yeah.
what we're going to see next and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just expand the Screen Views world a bit more.
We know you listeners like lovers, and so we just do this for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, we'll catch you in a bit, and bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.